On this week's episode, we are discussing Lily Allen giving you a hot foot into your career as a restaurant critic, gracious loser face, and menopause showing up unexpectedly and disrupting every aspect of your life. It's Grace Dent. Grace Dent, welcome.
I'm a little bit stunned to be actually sitting here looking right at you in real life.
Why?
I don't know. I've seen you a lot of times. I feel
It's that Guardian crowd, and it's Sally Hughes, and it's her fault.
Yeah. I feel like I know it right. My first thing I'm going to say is you are a tall person.
Why does everyone say that to me? Why does everyone think I'm... I had someone who I'd known and met like 3 or 4 times in business, one of our manufacturers, a product, and he came to meet us at a lab and he went, yeah, I've just got to say, I've never realised how tall you are. And I was like, you've met me before.
I don't know. Well, I mean, I suppose I only see you on screen.
But you're tall.
I'm not. I'm 5'4". I've always got ridiculous heels on.
Oh, fair.
I am actually a little person, and I saw you as a fellow Lilliputian person.
I just kick my mic everywhere. Sorry, guys.
You're a statuesque blonde.
Well, thanks for that, because I'm actually grey, but that's all right. We hide it, don't we?
You've got a good colourist.
Thanks. She's fantastic. Thanks, Mel.
Yeah, really good.
But welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me.
And thanks for coming at a early-ish hour.
Oh, God, no, I get up really early.
Still?
Yeah, I do. I am, as I've got older, I've worried that I'm going to turn into my grandmother who used to be up at like 5 every single morning for no reason whatsoever.
Oh, I do that. It does happen.
Yeah.
You need less sleep, they say. I think they tell you that to make you feel better. But actually, I think, in my head, I'll be dead soon. I better get going.
Oh, my God, that is my mantra.
Yes. She's laughing, but I say it in the office. I'm like, they'll say, I'll go to that meeting, that can be 10 minutes. Is it a yes or no or a discussion? If it's a discussion, I don't need to be there. If I'm doing the yes or no, give them 10 minutes. I'll be dead soon. I haven't got time for that.
25 more summers.
I know.
25 more.
And that's if I'm healthy. I don't want to have 25
really
more.
Sad,
no, it's not.
it?
But see, people say that, but I don't see it like that. I see it as grabbing it by the balls and being like, come on then.
Oh, I haven't got any time.
I've got absolutely no fucking time for anything that isn't vital, important, fun. Delete as appropriate.
I think that's where the menopausal rage, a lot of it comes from. Being taken into something which you knew could be an email.
Yes.
And you get there
or
and
it could
you
be
realise...
a piece of paper and you could go, yes, no. That's what I do. I'm like, print it off, put it in front of me. And it works. I'm just like, yeah, no, scribble, bring that back to me when that's done. Like, no, if I have to sit in the meeting, because also with my ADHD, I'm just like, I'll tap out and done.
Yes.
I'll be like, I'm just going to search what you're talking about, and I'm actually just doing emails because I'm...
You're just putting an Ocado order in, aren't you?
Yeah. But do you think that is... I am post-menopausal now, praise God. And it's so much nicer the other side. Perimenopause nearly finished me off.
Yeah.
But post-menopause, I am like, don't get in my way, because I will not only knock you down, I'll run you over and reverse again.
I think that it's only estrogen that keeps us as women from
prison.
From prison, all the way from 20 to about 46, and then that drops.
Yeah.
And there's a real sense that you could kill.
Yeah. That's why I
But
went on HRT, Rage, Hammersmith Broadway, screaming out a white van man who thought he could get the better of me, and it didn't end well for him. And my daughter was in the front seat, and I literally said, I think I might need hormones. And she was like, typical teenager. She was like, you think? I was like, all right, rude little bitch.
I think that over the last 10 to 12 years, middle-aged women being full of anger and righteous anger has ended up being branded as Karen, right?
Yeah.
And that hasn't done us any favours whatsoever. So let's rebrand that. Let's take Karen and just rebrand it as Sandra, right? Me being Sandra.
Leave Karen to the stupid women who we do know what we're talking when they're Karens. We do get that.
Woman standing in park shouting at people having a perfectly nice time, having a barbecue.
You go be a Karen.
You Karen.
You go away.
Sandra is the person who, you go to the shop and you try to take your shoes back and they say, I'm sorry, the heel's fallen off because you were wearing them, right?
Yeah,
Wear and tear. Who are you going to send in to get your money? Sandra. Right?
Who do you want as your medical advocate? Because you want me, I'm telling you. I'm sorry, it's been...
a 50-year-old woman to talk for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To talk for everyone.
There's a devil dog loose in the park. Everyone's screaming. Who's going to catch that dog?
Yeah.
And ring the warden?
Yeah.
Sandra?
And kick the dog and be like, stay there. And the dog will go, all right, sorry, mate. Literally. Sandra.
It's like, kill me. You'd be doing me a favour.
It's just like, try, have a go. Last week, my brother said something, and we've always had that banter. He's 9 years younger than me. Yeah. And he said something, I can't remember what it was, but I snapped back so quickly with something that was so effortlessly, brilliantly sarcastic.
Yeah.
My husband was walking through the kitchen at the time, and he just went to him, mate, you'd think you'd have learned by now. Why'd you bother? And just carried on walking.
Yeah.
I was like,
keep on sticking his hand in the lion's cage.
I mean, why? Why bother? Has being in that zone changed your work in that what you say yes and no to? Are you far more picky with your time these days?
It's the last few years has been a roller coaster from going into being perimenopausal, not recognizing it for what it was, and overnight going from being someone that was like, I'll never retire. I don't feel sexism. I don't feel ageism. I look good for my age. I'm full of confidence to go in, when can I stop, And when I started Comfort Eating, the podcast, on the first few weeks, my mother had literally just died, and I was like, just went straight back to work.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise how unwell I was, And at one point, all I had to do was put a laptop into a bag and go to a meeting across town about this bloody podcast. And I was exhausted. I was exhausted too. I used to sit in the morning thinking, and when I get to King's Cross, there's a set of stairs. What the hell, I got that sorted out in the end. I went to the doctors and I started feeling instantly better. But what I would say is, with regards to how much time I feel like I've got left on earth, I don't want to waste my time saying yes to things anymore, thinking that it's going to move the dial on my career.
Yeah.
When now, as the old ancient velociraptor that I am, I know it's not.
Yeah. And also, who cares?
Years ago, I would have thought. I used to think that networking was important. I used to think that being at award ceremonies was important. I won't go to award ceremonies unless I know that I've won, right? And I know that I've won because I just wait to see how anxious they get about me being there.
But you're not going there.
Right.
Okay, so my guys are laughing because it's like looking in a mirror. My mum died last year, and I think I spent almost a full year in a coma. I was functioning.
Yeah.
And I hit the gym hard, like weightlifting and stuff. I lost loads of weight because I cared for mum, literally bathing her, and in my head thinking, fuck this, I don't want my kids doing this because she's so frail. And you're like,
I've been there,
you're
and
like,
I understand.
You literally go, why did I waste 30 years not working out and not being the healthiest I can be for my kids? So I then changed my entire thinking, but I think what I also did is just completely suppress the grief, where you're just I haven't got time to think about that. And I'm still like it now. I have moments, my brother and I have moments where if we're together where we'll wobble and I'll go, don't do it. And he'll go, I'm all right, But it's that kind of the same thing of I say no. And I literally just had a conversation before. Someone couldn't get in for the pod and they said they can do this day. And I said, I'm supposed to be at an award ceremony, but I'll do it. It's fine. Literally this morning, I was like,
award ceremonies.
Joey Tribbiani. Why didn't I win?
I have never been able to pull the face of happiness when other people win. I honestly, but in the 90s, when I first got to London, I was so excited to be at those things and
one day I'll
everything
be
about
here.
it. One day. And now, the whole. With award ceremonies, they're a whole bloody day's work. Because you have to. I say that when you get to a certain age, looking your absolute best is essentially drag. And there's a lot of it.
And it's a drag.
It's a drag.
It's a drag, and it's like,
And it's expensive.
It's like, oh my God, I've got to get my hair colour.
And by the time I've got there and done red carpet and then went to speak to people, those bloody receptions beforehand where they give you that cheap white wine, which is essentially wolf juice. And then you have 2 or 3 glasses of it and you're having to speak to actually quite important advertising people and you're thinking, I'm out of control here.
I'm going to open my mouth.
Yeah.
And they're never going to advertise again.
And then the incredibly long, the boiled chicken.
Oh, why is it
lunch.
always a boiled chicken? I get why they don't want to serve fish.
Yeah.
Give the people steak just once in a while or a pasta. Give me a risotto. That'll do.
Oh, God.
Boiled chicken.
Boiled chicken. You asked me about this stage of life and what it gets me to say no to. So it gets me to say no to a lot of things. But yeah, I say yes to things that I'm much, much more fearless than I've ever been.
Yeah. I think that's universal.
I don't really care about embarrassment or shame.
Nope.
Anymore.
Don't care about what you think about me.
I think that is one of the. I think that I've had quite a lot of baptisms of fire with regards to social media, and we all have. I've had some really, and I was in the jungle before Christmas, and that was massive. Jesus, you would have thought I'd have done a triple murder when I'd come out, just for about 5 days. And when that's over, every single time, instead of it breaking me, it makes me much more titanium. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Titanium.
Yeah.
And especially now, like the combination of those things that have happened and this age, don't care.
Don't care.
There is nothing you can say about me and any single inch of my body that I didn't start hearing when I was 11.
Literally.
And it's not just your looks and your weight or being too fat, too thin, or it's everything.
It's everything about
it's
you,
about
yeah.
your oh God, when I get asked to do something now and it's terrifying, I just think yes. And I've got now, I think that one of the greatest things as well that I've learned now is never ever waiting for anybody else to do the thing that I want to do, right? And these are just little things that when I was 30, if you just said to me, why don't you go to the cinema on your own and just go and see a horror film by yourself in the middle of the day? There might not be anybody in there. I would just thought, but people will look and think that I'm lonely. And what if I get in there? And what if somebody molests me in the cinema and I'll be too scared? And now I'm just like, oh, bring it on. I don't care. Eating in restaurants alone, traveling alone, landing in countries by yourself when you don't know anybody and you don't speak the language. There's a strength about being 50 that I never had previously.
Yeah.
I think one of the best things that has come to me in the last few years is people said to me for years, when you get to your late 40s, you'll become invisible, right? Like it's terrifying, you know? People I remember 50-year-old women saying this to me when I was 28, and they may as well have said, you're going to die a hideous death in a vat of marmalade. You know what I mean? I was like, invisible to the male gaze. Now, it's like, it's so freeing.
So lovely.
Right? Totally invisible to the male gaze, right? From the moment I get up in the morning, the amount of time I save by not caring at all, because they don't care about me. They can't see me.
A flying shit.
They don't see me.
No.
When I walk out of the house now, and I've got trainers on, an old pair of jeans, jumper, scarf, no makeup, big glasses, probably a bit of a tash going on if I'm honest, right?
Chin, beard for me.
Little bit of. And I'm walking down that street. Everybody under the age of 38, 40 just goes, old shape, right? Old shape. They don't even look at me. They don't look at me. They don't see me. And I think, isn't that amazing? Isn't it kind of wonderful that I don't have to walk towards a group of men and go, oh, what are they gonna say?
Yeah.
What are they gonna? And they all got to nudge each other. It's all gone. And once you get rid of the male gaze, I look at women much younger than me, and they act exactly as I did.
Yeah. Like
can't go to Asda without the
makeup.
full.
Yeah.
And I understand why, because the currency, that sugar rush of
all right, love. All right, darling.
somebody just, you know, and everybody, they're all, when you're young and you're full of hormones, everyone's at it, every possibility is every chance you go out. I think all that time I spent crimping my hair and putting on makeup when I could have learned a language really well.
I mean, literally. The first time I really realised
science.
Yeah, the first time I really got that time was mine now. That was what happening to me is when I was walking down Bond Street with my daughter, who has the body of a goddess.
Yeah.
And there was wolf whistling from one of the, the workers. And in my head, I heard it, and then I immediately went, that's for your daughter, babe, check yourself.
Yes.
Literally. But men don't have that same problem. My husband still thinks he's as hot as he did when he was 25. He absolutely has that he's not even middle-aged, he's older, he's 60.
Yeah.
Middle-aged white man thing, like, why wouldn't anyone want me? Like, he'd sit there and be like, oh, you're lucky, love. I'm like, okay, great. When we used to do a pub quiz. There was a little period where we went to a pub quiz around the corner, and we've got 2 sons who are 6'5" and 6'3", and I say this fairly confidently, they're hot. They're good-looking lads, you know, and they're very polite and everything. We were in the pub, and my husband is sandwiched between the lads, and I'm on the other side with the other 2 kids, and the waitress is coming over, and she's being all, you know, lovely and everything, and she went away, and Jim leaned over and he went, I think you might have a bit of bother here, love. And I went, I couldn't help it. And I just went,
Oh, I imagine
do you think,
being in that
or
head.
do you think they're maybe attracted to our sons either side of you? And he literally was like, oh, there's no need to be a bitch. And I'm like, there's no need to be fucking deluded.
Who wouldn't want to live in that amazing,
Bless his
dreamy
heart.
land?
Bless his heart.
Yeah,
I love that
but
for him.
I suppose the thing is with men that when they get older, if they've got any kind of capital or they look in any way kind of great, if they've got a home even, there are always women.
If they're wearing shoes.
There are always women
always
that'll
women.
take these, you know.
Yeah.
What's the phrase at the moment is hospice wife. And that's when a man who's spent his whole life going, oh, I'm not going to settle down. I'm too young. And it gets to 30, and then it gets to 40, and then it gets to 50, and they've still not settled down. And then they start getting a bit of a bad hip.
Yeah.
You know what I
someone to
mean?
look after them.
They get about 64, suddenly they get married.
I mean, what's the point?
It's because they want, they're like,
But older people getting married and remarried after they got divorced, I don't understand.
I don't know.
I don't understand. Like, I've been with my husband for 75 years, but God forbid anything happened to us. Like, we're not going to get divorced. I might kill each other, but we're not going to get divorced. But God forbid anything happened to us. There's not a chance in hell I would get married again.
No.
Why would I do that?
It's
I've had my
expensive
kids.
business.
I've had my kids. If I'm going to have a male, you know, fancy date, that's fine. But you're not stepping into my world, and I'm not going to have to negotiate with you what we're doing for the weekend. Well, that's not going to happen again. With my husband, it's easy because we know each other like better than ourselves, you know.
Yeah.
But when I see people getting married 2, 3, 4 times, I'm like, what are you chasing? Go to a therapist instead.
Oh, 100%. They get married because they don't want to spend 5 years on an IKEA beanbag thinking about what happened last time.
I just
That's what happens.
What are you doing?
And I mean, especially with men, they don't grieve. They just
No, they
replace.
just go from one to the other. They replace.
Because they do. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah,
I don't.
wouldn't-
It's not. Getting married again is just something people say. You know, oh, do you think you'd ever get married? I'm like, well, number one, I'm still married. Don't be rude. My poor husband's still here. And number two,
What do they know?
no. Yeah. What do you know that I don't?
Yeah.
Completely digressing.
Go on.
Food.
Yes.
How did you come? Because we got the same train line, we discovered, down
Yes.
from up north down to Euston, the old Euston, not the fancy one it is now.
No.
The Euston. I've slept on the floor of Euston when I've missed trains before, and the police would go, "Have you got a ticket?" I'd be like, "Yeah, we just missed a train. Stay with your mates," and then they'd walk off.
Dirty, grubby, stinky.
It was so disgusting.
Euston Station.
It was so disgusting.
Full of sex workers. I
Oh, maybe no
remember.
wonder they asked me if I was.
Yeah,
I had a
when I was
ticket.
a little girl, I remember I used to stand there in Euston Station, and there was all like ladies of the night, as we used to
Oh, I
call
didn't
them,
know,
all
wasn't-
walking around.
wasn't even aware.
And everyone was smoking ciggies
Everyone's smoking
inside.
and on the train.
This is, sorry, you know something, we're sounding really old now.
Well,
and
no,
then an old train with steam came in, and we all hit it with a stick.
And it
because
was
we
a
thought
donkey and a cart. But when you came down
yeah.
to London,
Yeah.
would you have envisaged what you're doing now for a living?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Excellent. Because people ask me...
Absolutely.
People ask me, they'll say, did you ever think you'd be in Liberty or Space and Cane? I go,
Yes.
Yes. I love that you said that.
Yeah.
I love that you said
This
that.
was the plan.
It was, but food, it was always food.
No.
Okay, just writing. That's what I meant,
God,
food.
No, the plan
Right.
was never food.
Okay.
When I was, I grew up in Critic, in Carlisle, which is, it's an interesting place. It's a bit, you know, there's lots of lovely people still there.
It's high up.
It's right up near the border of Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
It's as far as you can go up there. It's a fun, you know, Carlisle's a funny old place. And yeah, by the age of like 7, I was watching Top of the Pops in my living room, looking at the Human League, looking at pop stars and going, I'm off.
That's what I did.
Where I wasn't.
Maybe we're sisters from another mister
I
because
think we
I
may-
did that.
we may be.
And even now, because I live close to the old BBC Centre, and when I started doing This Morning and you go to the television centre, in my head, all I had was Duran Duran.
Yes.
All I had. And doing outside broadcasts. And in my head, I'm just like, oh my God, I'm in the top of the Pops building.
I think that, like, I didn't come from a house of any academia. Nobody had a career. And there was nobody had ever worked in media. My dad was a squaddy for a long time, and then he came out the army and just worked in a factory. And I remember my mother cleaning the betting shop, and me sitting on the betting shop counter reading The Sun. These kind of my earliest memories. And I think I wasn't brought up by anything that said I could go and do anything, but pop culture. For me,
especially in the 80s,
putting the TV on, and I want it to be glamorous, and I wanted to be there had to be a role for me somewhere down in London. And I used to tell people, I'm going to get on the train. It used to go almost down past the end of our field near my house. I used to go, I'm going to get on there. It's 260 miles away. I'm going to go to London. And Polly Yates was a massive influence, because with someone like Polly Yates, it was a new type of celebrity, whereas she wrote a column and she did a bit of telly presenting.
She was sassy,
and
super smart, whip
flirted
smart
with pop stars,
and
she put books out, and she wrote fiction, and she did non-fiction, and one minute she'd have a beauty column and the next minute she'd have a travel column. And and then she was married to Bob Geldof. And I know it's a stupid example, but for me with Polly Yates, it felt like, hang on a minute, I'm never going to be these people like Peter Ustinov that you'd see on the television, who are these kind of, esteemed pundits that would turn up and they would turn up on chat shows and everyone would go, oh, they're so funny. I was never going to be that person. I would look at her and go,
but I could do that.
Oh, I could do that. I went to uni up in Scotland on clearing. I was literally the only people that would have me, right? Not very good A-levels, right? It was during the time of rave. I'm going to blame that.
Nice.
So I was having a very, very good time raving. Didn't get massively good A-levels. Ended up at uni. And then at uni, I was thinking, how do I get there? How do I get there? I started entering writing competitions at women's magazines.
Bloody hell.
And won a few of them, and then kind of just turned up down here and went to do work experience at Marie Claire.
Wow. And that was it?
In the 90s, and turned up, and like work experience, I think, they see thousands of people and a year. And I just thought, God, the trick with work experience is to just try not to be one of the only people that's not a really massive weirdo, because like most people that turn up are a bit kind of, and couldn't, and I had the skills of being able to use a fax machine and stuff like that. And try and make yourself a bit indispensable. Stayed.
What do you mean work ethic? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
I was like, but I didn't have a plan B.
Yeah.
Every single day when I woke up in London, and I lived in Bounds Green, right at the end of the Piccadilly line, and I lived in like a shared house with a load of girls above a builder's merchant, and the floor was falling in.
Oh, you have to live in some real shitholes when you move to
walking
London.
in on a night and going straight through the floor and like nearly killing yourself, and then the landlord turning up and paying you off with lager and just going, yeah, fine, I'll have it. And just... I didn't have a plan B. No. Like my plan B would have been going back.
No, you can't. I didn't
have a plan B.
And
being in my mum's bedroom.
No.
So there was always this feeling. I think that one of the interesting things, though, when you know exactly what you want and you go for it, you properly go for it, and there's every time you get slapped down, you kind of go reprogram.
Yeah, and I'm going back again in another direction. Yeah, for sure.
But then when you get these things along the way, it's very important to remember to enjoy them, because you don't. You often go, like, you want that award, you want that book deal, you want that, and you ask for it, and you get slapped down, and then by the time you get it, you're just resentful that you didn't get it earlier.
No, it's human nature, though, right?
It's fair, and I think that now I look back now, and I think it's so important to. Celebrate
the wins.
Oh God, it's such a glib American podcast thing. Oh, celebrate your wins, but no, honestly,
but do.
I got a really big and I don't even listen to this myself, I got a really big win the other day. Something happened, and instead of just going, oh my God, I've wanted that since I was 12, I immediately went into a depression of, I spent about 48 hours going, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't.
I get that.
I can't. I'm not.
I get that.
I can't. What if I? It's writing a script for something, and I thought, this is the time. That
but then, did you talk to yourself? Do you talk to yourself like, get your shit, don't be ridiculous?
Yeah.
Of course you can. Don't be an idiot. But it depends
I cleaned
on the day.
up yesterday. I went into my room that I worked, and I just cleaned and cleaned and cleaned, and then I wrote in a piece of paper, 1 times 90,000 words, and then also 1 times 30 minutes, blah, blah, and just put it on a piece of paper. I went, look, that's all I've got. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's fine. Even if it's shit, just finish
do
it.
it.
It could just be finished shit, right?
But you've done it.
I need to do it. But like with things like I know, I mean, what I'm saying is like sometimes when you've got this plan in place, it's almost just like like endless striving and disappointments and misery where you should really enjoy those moments.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it must be like to not know what you want to be.
I find I struggle with that as well with my kids because I don't struggle. I worry for them that they don't have the same drive because I left home at 17. Happily, my mum was devastated, like, oh! But she knew. Yeah. She just knew. She was just like, you're not meant to be here. You go to London, you know. And the condition was I was allowed to go to London if I moved in with my godmother, who's my mum's oldest friend.
Yes.
Who's still like now my second mum. And so I moved in with her, and then I became a nanny, and that got me money, and then I was able to go from there, and then I moved in with friends, and I got a job in HMV, which was the best job in the world for an 18-year-old, because it was in the days where they'd just come in and put gig tickets and stick them to the wall, and you'd all be like, oh, you go to after-show parties. If you were skint, you'd go to an after-show party of a band you didn't even like, just so you could eat the food and then go back to bed.
Yeah.
So it was the best. But like you, I never had a plan B. I'm moving to London, I'm going to have a career.
But I do worry with, we're about the same age, and I can see there's a similar battle axeness about looking at younger women, like, who, and going,
why? Yeah, they're coasting. And I don't think they think they are, but I think you're coasting. Like, you're young. You feel like Nora Ephron says, when you're older, you'll be remorseful that you didn't spend your 20s in a bikini.
Oh my God.
I'm like, I get that now. Because I used to constantly like, you're fat this, you're too this, your legs are this, and now I'm like, I do bikinis, I just hoik them up, I don't give a shit. If anyone wants to look at me, knock yourself out. I'm stunned my husband still wants to see me naked, but I don't care, that's the difference.
There's a thin line though that I tread when I think, because I do get angry at younger people that are, whether it's people working on my teams, family members, and then I think that it's also a pitfall for us to fall into, kind of going, well, see, everybody treated us like crap when we were young, and we put up with it, and and I
you don't want to be that person.
I lived in horrible places, and I had no money, but then
you want better
also,
for people.
I don't want to live vicariously through other people's achievements and like sitting there being angry because people aren't. Look, it's hard.
But
really trying not to name check people that I know.
That's okay, we'll do it after.
I'm
so
so
you get
sorry,
here.
girls. I'm like, this is like, it's because I'm really trying not to go. And
Well, I did very well not naming brands, so we're on the same page.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Just have to cut all.
But then you get here. When does food come into the equation?
Oh my God.
And how happy were you that it did?
Oh,
God. And then my other part of the question is, before I forget, because when you go and do a review,
I'm doing that thing where I've started to enjoy myself.
And now you're getting like,
my
well,
posture has stopped being so good. I'm
get comfy.
I'm back in my. I'm going to my lock-in pose. And another thing.
But when you're in a restaurant that isn't up to scratch,
oh God,
how do you not? In your, like we've spoken about our current sort of state of mind, which is very healthy, I think, not go for fuck's sake, get your shit together, what a pile of shit this is.
Okay.
Or do you have to dress it up a bit for The Guardian, for example?
Oh my God, right. 2 questions. The first question was, when did food enter the equation? I wanted to be a restaurant critic from when I was a teenager. And at that point, I used to really like Michael Winner, who used to do a thing called Winner's Dinners.
I remember Winner's Dinners.
Right? Winner's Dinners, News of the World. He would go to a different restaurant every week and basically just appointment reading, wasn't it? That's what I've always wanted to be as a columnist. It doesn't matter what you're talking about, but people are like, oh, what's Grace up to?
Yeah,
right? And
literally.
with Michael Winner, he did that. Wasn't particularly likable. You used to walk around restaurants in London in the 90s. There used to be stickers on the walls that used to go, this is Michael Winner free zone, because they used to ban him from places. Anyway, but when you looked around the makeup of who was a restaurant critic, it was very, very plain that you kind of had to have an ancestor in the game, right? You know?
Yes.
And not only did you have to have an ancestor in the game who'd been there, and because of that ancestor, then you would have a background in food where you'd be like, oh, well, when I had my first food experience at the knee of my grandma in Tuscany. And, you know, she had a wonderful woman that used to come in to cook, and they used to make fantastic pasta. I did not have that childhood, right? I was, you know.
My nan made me a dipped in bread.
There you go, right? I lived in the 70s in the north. You know what I mean? I ate a lot of
dandelion and burdock.
Dandelion and burdock, Angel Delight, salad cream sandwiches. Look, right, okay. So and also in magazines and newspapers in the 90s, things were not handed out fairly. I mean, they're still not handed out fairly. It's kind of who's walking past the end of the desk, you know, when things. And it's kind of, we need a restaurant critic. The last one's gone, and it's often just, so and so's daughter can do it anyway. So I never thought I'd ever get a job as a restaurant critic. The only reason I did was because after I'd been a writer for about 15, 16, 17 years in London, Lily Allen happened to be guest editing ES Magazine.
Oh, my God.
And Lily Allen got an envelope, and they said, who do you want to work with? Who do you want to work with on your guest edit? And she kind of went, Grace Dent, because she was going out with Ed from the Chemical Brothers at the time, and I know Ed. And Ed had said to me that they together both really loved my stuff in The Guardian. And that is the only reason, because they rang me.
Wow.
And they just lost a restaurant critic. And ES Magazine were like, do you want to cover? And I was just like,
yes,
I do. Do you know those kind of... So I did it. I did it from that moment on. I started being, I was meant to be covering for a few weeks, but all the way through on the journey up to that, I have always been very, very good at, I sometimes think, am I more of a restaurant critic than a food reviewer? Because I love restaurants, right? I used to love clubbing, and I used to love pubs and bars and parties. But then as I got older, restaurants replaced that as like the buzz of walking, and they're always different. You know, they're always... It's a bit like the magic faraway tree, and every time a new land turns up, and you never know who's going to be in there, what clique's going to be in there. And I just thought, this is the greatest job in the world. And when I was years ago in the 90s and in the noughties, before I was a critic, I would go to these restaurants when I, pay with my own money, and then I'd get back on a Monday, and my friends in the office would go, "What's Momo like then, Grace?" And I was always very good at going, pull up a chair, right? This is what it's like. This is who goes, blah, 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 blah. And I used to think, I'm really good at nailing this. So to get that job, I was like, I'm never giving it back. Suddenly you've got an expense
They're not
account.
getting it from me.
Never out of my cold, dead hands will they take that job.
They're never getting it back from me.
And but you can't ever complain about being a restaurant critic, because I could moan and moan and moan and tell you the realities of it. Painful, horrible, murky, nasty, difficult things that make me want to pull my hair out. And it's very similar, I think, to your job in that you could moan, you could really...
Yeah.
But at the end of it,
you're a restaurant critic.
It's like
I'm a brand owner in the beauty industry.
It's like
I fucking love my life.
About being Princess Margaret,
yeah.
Right?
It's
like saying, I'm so sorry.
And yet she did.
Far too. Yeah, she was so good at moaning. But, especially as a woman, to go into places all the time, these restaurants, largely owned by men, largely chefed by men who don't get enough fresh air, live in the back of a
No vitamin D.
kitchen, live in the back of a kitchen where everybody calls them, yes, chef, you know,
chef,
they've
yes,
got a
chef.
brigade.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of kind of brainwashing. There's like a bit of a cult mentality and then they have their big opening and they invite all their friends and they give them all free things and their friends go, oh,
everything's amazing.
It's so lovely. And then after about 11 days, Darth Vader arrives, right, in lipstick and a bra. And I walk in and I'm a bit like, this is just shit, you know? Like, this food is shit. I had this the other day. I went in somewhere and I went, you spent all this money on this, like, green velour banquettes and, like chandeliers and that. And then you're serving me food that is disintegrating. And I know where you got those, you know, I know where you got that product from and it's really low quality. And I'm sitting there going, I wasted lipstick. I could be lying on the couch.
Watching telly.
Covered in cats.
Covered in cats, watching telly, the dream.
Really happy. And I'm not only in London, I've had to get on a train to come to this restaurant.
That's unacceptable.
Like, you know, the 4 sexiest words in the British language: rail replacement bus service, right? And you've got
bane of your life when you live up north, when your parents are up north.
And then you write it. And I never write as bad as it is. Ever. When chefs come at me afterwards, and I always think,
here's what I could have written.
I always think, mate, do you not realise that 700 words that I wrote went through lawyers?
Yeah.
So
how many of you had turned away by the lawyers? How many times have legal said, Grace, you can't say that?
Oh, they trim out the bits about getting the shits and sorry.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
Oh, honest.
You can't say this gave me diarrhea.
You can never ever say that because you cannot prove what gave you.
Oh, of course, that makes sense.
What gave you?
Yeah, of course.
But look.
But you know.
Look, I know this is a sophisticated podcast only for sophisticated
don't worry about
women
that.
who do not go to the toilet, I'm sure. But yeah, you do spend a lot of time with a slightly loose stomach, shall we say. I want you to think about that every time you see me from now on.
Okay, I will.
Always say she looks fantastic, but I think she's got diarrhea.
But she's wearing a great lip. Let's counter it with what's the best? What's been the best?
Oh, God.
The best restaurant you've given reviewed. What's been the best food?
God.
What's been the best, like, ambience? Where you've just gone, fuck me, I could die here.
Oh, God, I hate that question.
Oh, you can have top 3 then.
Darling, do you know why I hate that question? Because I eat out continually and it changes all the time. Fair. So I never want to say, and also the places that are good and are amazing and they cost £500 a head. They're like that for a reason. Yeah. So of course, it's like when I always go, oh, I love the Ledbury in Notting Hill, and and people go, of course you bloody do. It's like it's £500 to go through the door. Where are my favourite places? Look, my favourite places at the moment. Oh no, I can't. Ask me another one. It's honestly, it's like it's one of my. I always say, right, that the places I could absolutely die and go to heaven is when you get to somewhere like Kefalonia and you're just with a few mates, and then on about the 3rd day you get in your little hire car and trundle down to some little cove, and it's just
everything's perfection.
It's just someone's nan, and she's doing a bit of fish and doing a bit of potatoes and doing a bit of beans on a plate, and it's then the utter unpretentiousness. No one's trying to sell and no one's trying to mark anything up.
Yeah.
And there's those are those moments where you're like, but then I was in a restaurant yesterday where I spent £82 on breakfast.
Wow.
£82.
Wow.
And it's meant to be one of the greatest places in London.
And it wasn't?
They'll be reading my column. I just wrote it before I came out.
That's gone to legal.
There's like some person at The Guardian just pinching the skin between their eyes now going,
what's your sort of average day for food then? If you're just doing a normal day, what does an average day of like eating look like?
Being a restaurant critic means that your body doesn't kind of belong to you. It belongs to the newspaper, really. There is always thousands and thousands and thousands of calories coming, right?
God.
Like yesterday, when I was at the restaurant I was talking about, I'd eaten at least 4,000 calories by 10 a.m.
Stop it.
Yes. It's perilously easy to do that.
Mm.
Big stack of pancakes.
Of course.
You know, a really lovely latte, and then trying another course and this, and, you know, things in brioche, little trifle. There you go, 4,000. So easy. And then, you know, people that know me say that it's either the feast or it's just like being with a giant squirrel, because, like, I'm just walking around.
With nuts, just saying, no more food, please.
Yes, sitting there with, you know, my brother takes the mick right out of me because I'll eat a load of food in the morning, and then I've got to be on MasterChef on HDTV, right? No one has ever seen themselves on HDTV and went, God, you look amazing. You know, like the camera sticks on more weight. So it's like with my life as being one of the only women that does it, it's clawing back calories.
Yeah.
You know? And
did that start you working out? Because you started working out recently, didn't you? Did that start you? Was that part of the whole, like, no booze, going to the gym? Because I did exactly the same. I think we're on the same path, but I'm a few years older than you, but so I've come late to the game. But I find myself doing it, like last night I was saying earlier, I ate ice cream, but I ate the whole thing. And normally I don't even touch ice cream. But then I found myself going, well, you're going to have to work that off tomorrow. Because in the old days, I got to just sit there and just, you know, can't do that now.
You know, my journey with my weight has been a very, very typical Gen X journey. I've been on a diet
Our whole lives.
my life.
A different type.
And when people say, oh, you shouldn't talk about that, or, you know, it's not okay to know calories, it's not okay to weigh yourself. I'm like, look.
I don't think you understand.
Gen X woman, right? From my earliest,
From birth.
my
Don't eat that.
earliest memories are piles of diet magazines sitting on the coffee table, cut out and keep 900 calorie a day diets to get you down into your bikini
Cabbage
from the mirror,
soup
cabbage
diet.
soup, counting calories and trying to hemorrhage weight off through the 80s and 90s. I think that when you're younger, though, you can definitely go, oh, I've put weight on, so therefore I'm just going to be pretty good and pretty strict for a couple of weeks, but still go out and hammer it on Cabernet Sauvignon, right, and chips. And then at the end of it, you're like, oh, I'm 7 pounds down. You know? Yeah. And then that
goes out the window.
That absolutely.
In your 40s, forget it.
In your 40s. And I think that when I was in my 40s, I definitely started to take things more seriously. I definitely put weight on when I was caring for my parents. Both my parents have recently died, and I went through a stage where I was caring for them, and I was up north, and I wasn't weighing myself, and I don't think I realised how the weight was coming on, because it came on very gradually in just slices of cake, really, because you're caring for old people. Yeah. What do you give them?
Cake,
calories,
cake.
You know? And then I got to a certain stage. I think so I'm 3 years sober, and I think that 3 years ago, I just realised that I couldn't outrun my diet. Couldn't. No more. This doesn't matter how much I walked. I couldn't outrun my diet. I couldn't outrun how much drink was in my life. I was just a British drinker.
Yeah. We drink too much. The nation drinks too much.
British drinker. And it got to about the age of, 47, 48, and just thought, this is going to kill me. Like, I can't stop putting weight on. I can't outrun my diet with exercise. I can't bounce back from drinking.
It's a nightmare.
I can't bounce back anymore.
No, there's no bouncing back. It knocks you out for days.
And also, I can't escape from drinking. Like, I can't. Like, this is what I think a lot of women listening to this will go, oh, God, I'd love to do what Grace did, but I've got a hen weekend, and then I've got Christmas, and I've got to have a drink with my team next week, and you can't escape, and I think that
our entire culture is based around booze and tea.
Yeah,
it's one or the other.
just overnight, I just stopped. I didn't do 12-step or anything. I'm not in any meetings or anything. I'm just like, I'm done, right? And right away the weight starts falling
immediately.
Off. Immediately.
Like nutritionists that call booze liquid fire.
It's just like
liquid sugar. It's just sugar.
I get people coming up to me all the time and they go, so how did you do it? Are you on Ozempic? Are you what have you done? And I go, oh well, I stopped drinking.
I stopped drinking. They don't want to hear that though.
And they go, are you sure it's not Ozempic?
Yeah, literally. You're like, I stopped drinking and I stopped eating shit. I start looking at what I'm actually putting into my mouth versus what energy I'm expending. And I get the same thing when I talk about it. I get the same body positivity. You shouldn't be talking about calorie counting. I'm just going to stop you there. If you are triggered by me talking about what I'm doing with me, I'm not responsible for you. Yeah. You have to go and deal with that. And I don't say that with no empathy, but I'm going to put myself first. And if how I make myself feel better is by not drinking and saying that we drink too much as a culture, and by saying I have to track calories because I spent so many years in denial of what I was putting in my gob, that now because when I looked how many calories were in the ice cream, I was like, Jesus, because I just don't eat it, so I didn't think. And if I don't track them, and tracking them just keeps me on track, I don't obsess about it. I eat what I want, clearly, but I don't obsess about it. But I just said to someone, I fully support anyone who wants to embrace the body positive for what it means for them, but I'm telling you, I did not feel very positive about my body. Yeah. And that's the difference.
I think that, what nobody ever says to you about getting clean of all these things is, so I stopped smoking, stop drinking, stop doing everything else that's bad or naughty for me, start exercising. And then I go along and I'm feeling great, and then sugar starts.
Sugar's a bastard.
Oh my God. Honestly, sugar, I could quite easily live for the rest of my life, and all I eat every day is 4 bowls of trifle a day.
Oh no, see, I'm salt. I'm a salt and butter. Like butter and salt would be the title of my cookbook. Butter and salt. Butter. Like if I was thinking I'm depressed, what am I going to eat? I'd just nuke some rice and put a big dollop of butter in it and some salt.
That's what happy. Russell T. Davis brought.
Is that his comfort eating?
Butter pepper rice was his.
Oh no, as white starch carb as possible. So it's almost sticking to the roof of my mouth because but I can't do it. I just can't eat rice.
This is so funny talking to you. I knew that we would get on. I knew we would. Do you know why? Because you're just like me. You're quite a hard woman. And I was thinking this morning, it's going to be so bad if I get there and she's like this little timid woman.
I don't think there's much danger.
And then I walked in and you were like, hello. And I was like, yes, this is it. This is the one. This is the woman I wanted to be. No, it's funny.
I just think you can't. It's interesting though, because you get that feedback. I get, well, you're very outspoken. Yeah. And I get, no, I'm not. I'm not opinionated. We all have opinions. You're just too afraid to say them. And I'm not being rude about people. I'm not being mean. But if something is gross, it's gross. What do you want me to do? Yeah,
but the thing is, you're quite blonde and smiley, whereas I've got really resting bitch face.
I don't think you've got a resting bitch face.
I really have. I'm afflicted with a sarcastic tone of face, even when I'm trying to be nice. I'm a bit like
mine turns into the passive aggressive eyebrow. If people are like, "How's your Botox and filler?" and I'm like, "I couldn't have it because how would I tell my kids off?" So mine turns into I've got no poker face. But I embrace that about myself now. I hated it about myself when I was younger, and corporate work made you think, oh God, you're the bad apple. Why can't you just toe the line? And then I come out, and like you say earlier, you see things for what they are, and you're like, that's why I can't toe the line, because most of you are assholes.
Yeah.
Don't want to hang around with assholes for all my life.
I'm trying not to name anybody. It's really difficult. I've had to sit on my hands 4 times during this interview.
Right, this wouldn't be my podcast if I didn't ask you about beauty and skincare.
Yeah.
What are your earliest memories of beauty and or skincare?
Oh God, I wanted to wear makeup from the time I was about 8, 7. I remember going to youth club and going into the toilets and there being some makeup being passed around, and it's such a powerful moment, isn't it, when you stick your first lip on and you look in the mirror and you realise how it's just...
I'm a grown-up.
altered your face, you know, and you've gone from being lacking in areas to suddenly having a lip and like suddenly knowing that like a little bit of, oh God,
Bit of a cheekbone.
But then you walk out and boys treat you differently, and it's just like you're always chasing that high, aren't you? My mother was very glamorous. She was a proper northern statuesque woman, and always pulled together and lippy, and that's
always.
My earliest memories is watching Coronation Street and seeing Elsie Tanner and Bette Lynch and these pulled together women, and that's what I wanted.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think if you're from the south of England, people don't really get how important beauty is to the north of England.
Yeah.
So in retail, fake tan sales, north, Newcastle, number one, north. And then my mum wouldn't go to the post box if she didn't have her face on.
Yeah.
And I'm not like that, I haven't inherited that. But she was always immaculate. And the first thing everyone said about your mum, she's immaculate. Look at her, and she was like a little petite. She was a little petite. I get my build from my dad. But anyway, do you have a skincare routine?
I absolutely do have a skincare routine. It is, after all those years of following trends and going through, I'm just going to buy 100 hot cloths and just, and rub my face with this and spend all this money on whatever it was, just some £100 cream. That has all gone. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
That's okay.
God, I feel so bad, like I'm letting you down,
You're
right?
not letting me down. If you wash your face and put moisturiser on, you're fine.
When I got to about 47, I started getting eczema.
Menopause, bastard.
Never had it since I was 11. And suddenly it's growing up my arms. It starts to grow underneath my ears,
hairline,
over my eyes, in my hairline. And I've gone from being this woman that walks into the television studio and sits down on the makeup chair, and all the other women are going, oh, just a little bit, just a little. And I'm like, just keep on putting makeup on my face until the red light goes on, right? Full wedding makeup.
And follow me to the floor.
Yeah.
Follow me.
Wedding makeup, the lashes, the whole lot. And then suddenly about the age of 46, 47, I'm going in and I'm allergic to stuff, and they're like painting me, they're painting over the eczema. It was horrible. I wanted to retire. So I had to scale it right back, and I've started using, all that stuff you get in Holland and Barrett. Like, what's the...
Weleda.
I love Weleda.
Skin food.
Right. So using Weleda products and just like, really non-brand organic face washes.
Yeah.
Just make sure that my face is washed, make sure it's exfoliated in some way, and then just putting that Weleda on. Like I carry it around with me all the time. And I find that, as long as your skin's properly moisturized. So if you've got that as a base, and then I go on with Laura Mercier, which I've been addicted to.
The tinted moisturiser or foundation?
Laura Mercier illuminated primer, right?
Yeah.
Which is, I honestly, I don't know what kind of voodoo they put in that.
I do love a good primer.
It's like, it seems to just go on and just find all the bits of your skin and like kind of, I use Armani foundations, which I just absolutely love. I love Bobbi Brown concealers. And then after that, I think with my beauty, now I tend to, in normal daily life, just a little bit of primer and a lip.
What's your lip, though?
A lip.
Go to for your lip.
You see, I've got really into those, and they're not very expensive, so you can buy tons of colours. And I took one with me to the jungle, but they wouldn't give me it.
The outrage.
They wouldn't give me it. I'm okay about it. I'm fine. I've only... I had to pick up a box with these two bloody paddles, and they were throwing spiders at me, and I was going to get that lipstick, and I didn't get the lipstick. Didn't get Jamie Lee Spears' pictures either. This is all for therapy, I'm sorry. They didn't give me that lipstick. And I'd spent weeks working out what lipstick
to take.
I could use. It was a pencil.
Maybelline.
It was a Maybelline pencil that not only could I use it as a lip, I could use it as cheek as well. And they wouldn't give me it.
Bastards.
So yeah, that's what I use. I've got because I went through so many rigorous testing before I went in. I've got all of those, but I just carry those. You know, I used to love like the Angie from EastEnders 4-tone smoky eye, you know.
A 4-tone smoky eye, it takes a lot of work. I did that in the 80s and then I soon stopped. I haven't got the
and
energy.
Then you're like, but you know, God, my beauty's gone through so many. When I used to do Big Brother years ago, and I remember one of the makeup artists got me one day and just went, "Stop plucking your eyebrows."
Thank God for those people. Thank God for those people. Can you imagine?
Thank you, ladies. But yeah, look, I am what I am. The only thing that keeps me out of prison is the fact that they wouldn't give me regular access to tweezers.
I mean, that's fair. And estrogen.
Surely that's a civil, they would. After the first riot, they'd give me my estrogen.
They'd be like, who's in charge of the prison? Oh, her name's Grace. She's from Carlisle.
I'm the daddy now.
We think we should be giving her some estrogen.
She's on the roof. She's throwing tiles.
Throwing tiles and waving sheets. What would you say? Let's just do some quick then, like, because you are surprisingly mainly vegan, is that right?
I love vegan. I love vegan food, and I'm really interested in it. I'm interested in how it's, we've made cheese for thousands of years, and we've made vegan cheese for about 18 months, and it changes. Like every week, it just seems to get more and more advanced. So of course I'd be fascinated. I love animals. If I had my way, I'd live on a planet where absolutely none of them got killed at all. But I'm very realistic about that. I feel like I can't win when I talk about anything like this, though, because every time someone asks me about this, it's like divided right down the middle of vegans being really, really, really angry at me because I'm not a vegan, and people that own farms being really, really angry at me because I said I'm interested in vegan cheese.
Yeah.
And I realised that it's just a wall
of noise,
of bad will.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I mean, I love vegan food, and as I say, I do live mainly like a giant kind of chinchilla. So
now I'm going to think of chinchilla diarrhea. Thank you for coming. I'm not sure we talked about anything I put in my notes that we were going to talk about, but I love that. Who knew menopause was going to be a topic? But
oh my God.
Honestly, I'm absolutely thrilled. I've had the time of my life. I'm glad I wasn't a meek little person that you would have thought.
A tiny little
sparrow. Little sparrow.
Pepper pot.
That's not me.
No, I'm glad that I've met you. I do feel like I wish that I wasn't such in the middle of a house renovation, one eyelash glued on with kind of like snot, I think. Hot mess. I hope that next time I come to see you, I'll be a sleek gazelle of a woman.
And we'll dance to Luther Vandross.
Oh, yes.
Never too much. And a bit of Gwen Guthrie.
Oh, yes.